What's up? For those of you that don't know me, my name is Juan Zavala, and I'm a Northern Illinois / Chicago filmmaker, YouTuber, whatever you want to call me. By night and by day, I do have a full-time job as a marketing projects coordinator. Now, today's video is about my adventures editing on Final Cut Pro, as well as Premiere Pro and Premiere's little brother, Premiere Rush. Recently, I've been experimenting with Premiere Pro to be more industry standard as an editor, and that's led me to compare it against Final Cut Pro, which I've used for over 2 decades. Before Final Cut, I actually started with Premiere a very long time ago. This was like back in my high school days. I used to go to a place called the Tech Campus, and all the kids wanted to go edit on the Macs. They wanted to use Final Cut, and so I got stuck with what was left, and that was actually Premiere. I'll admit that I was very intimidated with Premiere Pro just because of how sophisticated and complex it looked, and I was really comfortable with Final Cut Pro. Like I said, I've been using it for quite a long time. So but I made it a goal for this year to really get to know the tool, to really understand it and start using it. And I took all the encouragement I could get, from a lot of peers that I know who are in the industry, and more specifically from my friend Andrea, who's a local photographer, and my friend Jasmine, who's a colorist down in the ATL. I'm a big fan of Peter McKinnon, who actually uses Premiere Pro, and he gives a lot of tips and tricks on how to use it in his YouTube channel. And I'm also a fan of Maddie Hapoya, who recently switched to Final Cut Pro. So I will say that personally, Final Cut Pro is the way to go, but because I've had a chance to actually get to know Premiere Pro, it's starting to grow on me. I'm starting to have respect for it, and that's part of the reason why I just want to share my thoughts on both of these tools, as well as Premiere Rush, just so you guys get a better idea of what works for you and what probably doesn't. Before we continue, I just want to say to please subscribe to the channel. It really helps to encourage me to continue making more videos like these. And if you already subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. Now let's go. Let's start with Apple's Final Cut Pro, and right away we see how the interface looks very welcoming, very user-friendly, and the timeline is placed at the very bottom of the screen. I love how when you start building your timeline, building your video, everything is right there, from seeing images related to the video clips to seeing your audio levels. It's really handy for when you're adding keyframes and you're adjusting the sound. You can see everything right there and then. You don't need to be going into the settings or into drop-down menus. Everything is visible right there in the timeline. Another thing I like about Final Cut Pro is how it renders in the background. However, over time, these rendering files start to accumulate and they start to take up space in your hard drive. Now, I just learned that there's actually a way to turn this off. If you go into Final Cut Pro and then Preferences and then Playback. I've never tried this. I've never turned it off, but it is a thing in case you were wondering. I'm curious if anyone does the same thing that I do, where I put a gap in my timeline, and that's how I anchor all my video and audio clips, so that they're not shifting around whenever I'm moving or whenever I'm editing. I think it's a bad habit. I have no idea where I picked it up or how I picked it up, but I've done it for a very long time. And yeah, I'm just curious if anybody else does the same thing that I do. Leave your comments below. Tell me maybe if you're doing this, if it's a bad habit that I have, and maybe if you used to do it and how you got out of it. Just curious to know. Let's move on to Adobe's Premiere Rush. This program can be installed on an iPhone, on an iPad, on a MacBook. I personally did not use it on an iPhone or an iPad. I stuck to using it on a computer, on my MacBook, just because of the real estate. It's real tiny on the iPhone, real tiny on the iPad, and I'm like, you know what, let's just go straight to the computer and just use it there. The interface looks very user-friendly, very welcoming, just like Final Cut Pro. But what I noticed while using it was that it only has 4 video tracks and 3 audio tracks, which sounds like more than enough, but it really isn't, at least not for me. and its audio capabilities are very limited as well. You can't add keyframes and you can't fade audio out. What I did to get around this situation was what I knew best. I exported the edited video version only from Premiere Rush, and I imported it into Final Cut Pro, and there I was able to add the graphics that I needed. I was able to fix the audio and get the video completed. Overall, my thoughts on Premiere Rush is to use this tool for more quicker video editing, more simpler videos. But if you're looking to do more polished videos, I would suggest something like Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro, which we'll dive into in a little bit. But comment below what your thoughts are on Premiere Rush, on Final Cut Pro, and even Premiere Pro. Alright, now that we talked about the little brother, let's talk about the bigger brother, and that's Adobe's Premiere Pro. The first thing that I noticed once the interface came up is how tight and compressed it looks, how crammed and how unwelcoming it looks. But don't get it twisted. You can do the same thing that you can do on Final Cut Pro and Premiere Pro and more. Once you get a better idea of how things work and where things are, you'll be editing a lot quicker than you thought. Let me share with you a couple cool things that I've learned on Premiere Pro that I feel like they're really handy to use. And one of them is when you're watching video clips on your source monitor, if you're hitting the comma, it'll drag those clips into your timeline. So no more needing to drag your whole clip into the timeline and then cleaning it up there. Another cool feature, this one pertaining to getting more real estate in this very crammed up space, is if you go to each of your monitors, there's a little wrench, and if you click on that wrench and you go down to show transport controls, it'll provide more real estate for you. I love how you can add markers into your timeline, which I know you can do in Final Cut Pro as well. But here you can change the colors in them. You can extend the duration, the length of those markers. You can add titles, you can add descriptions. And another cool feature is in your timeline, when you run into a certain section that you don't want, you can add an in point and an out point. And you can hit the extract button, which is the comma button, and it'll take that clip out. And you know how typically you get a little gap space. That extract button actually closes that gap space. One other cool feature that Premiere Pro has that I never found out if Final Cut Pro has is the captions generator. Let's be honest, there's people like my wife who like to watch their TV shows and they like to see what the words that people are saying are, right? Just to better understand the video. Or if we're, in the toilet, in the bathroom, watching a video with the sound off, we want to be able to see what people are saying, or in the middle of the night, however you watch your videos. It's just a thing. It's a thing to be able to see those words to better understand the video. And you can do that in Premiere Pro. It's really cool, real easy to see. Once you're done with generating those captions and fixing mistakes, because it's not a perfect thing. You can export the file, and then once you're uploading your video to YouTube, you can import that file into YouTube, and it'll create those captions for you. I also picked up this really cool XSKN keyboard cover. It just provides all the shortcuts at the tip of my fingers. I bought one a long time ago for Final Cut Pro as well. I can leave the links in the description below, but it's really handy, really awesome to use. I really recommend it to anybody who's trying to learn how to use these tools. Well, there you have it. Super high level comparison between Final Cut Pro, Adobe's Premiere Rush, and Premiere Pro. Let me know what your thoughts are below. Was this helpful? Do you want to see more content like this? I think my goal for this year is to create more informative content for you, especially when it comes to filmmaking and when it comes to editing, because that's where my passion is, that's where my heart is. So just be on the lookout for that. Well, thanks for watching my video. Again, this is Juan Zavala. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, comment below, share if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one.